Okay, welcome to a special kind of emergency edition of Lights Camera Barstool. Since we last recorded, we've had two pretty major pieces of movie news
Yeah.
drop, and we figured better to just hit it now rather than wait until next week. Those two pieces of news being that Denis Villeneuve has been tabbed to direct Bond, which is insane, and The Social Network 2 is officially a go with Aaron Sorkin directing and writing. But before we get to that, there is some other news too. So just a lot of stuff happens. Sometimes this happens. You just get like an overload of news during the week. So just we'll hit on it really quick. There was a new Fast Four or Fast Four, new Fantastic Four trailer. It would be crazy if there was a new Fast.
They're redoing it.
Yeah,
It is the worst one.
redoing it starting at four. The new Fantastic Four trailer, which is awesome. I'm really
Hmm.
digging it more. You get a lot of cool stuff out of it. You get there's tease and clobbering time. You have the thing with the beard. The score, by the way, is awesome. That like
Yeah.
Giacchino, right?
Yeah.
I always pronounce his name wrong, and I've known about this guy for so long. Michael Giacchino, like, I know it's weird to say. So, like, me and my brothers, we really love the game Medal of Honor Frontline. Do you ever hear about
Oh, that is a very good game score. I've never played it, but it rips. The score rips.
it? It's an incredible soundtrack.
I didn't know he did that.
So we played that game so much to the point where we unlocked like all the achievements, the behind
Hmm.
the scenes stuff. And one of the big behind the scenes footage things is that you get behind the scenes of making the score. And there's one really cool track, I think it's Arnhem, where like this kid is singing and like they have a whole clip of behind the scenes of Michael Giacchino, who couldn't have been like 20 something at the time, like uh,
Hmm.
directing that whole sequence with his orchestra, which is crazy. It's just so cool. And the fact that he went from that, then doing other cool video game scores that we loved, and then obviously like Incredibles, other great movies. Now it's done Star Wars, doing Marvel stuff. It's amazing. I love it. And it's also,
I love that the score is like very clearly how they came up with it. And it's like a riff on the old Fantastic Four score too. But it sounds great. But like the original version was definitely just someone going, Fantastic Four, like just over and over and over again, just finally found the beat to it.
yeah.
Yeah, no, this is I think the best trailer they've had yet. You can tell the CGI has been cleaned up along the way, getting better and better with every single look that we get.
Yeah.
Getting more looks at the powers, which people are freaking out over. Like, I guess Sue Storm has some abilities that maybe she shouldn't have, but who gives a fuck?
I thought the projector
And
was part of her power list.
I think they're complaining about the way it looks. Like it doesn't look exactly the way. Like I guess it should. I don't know. The comic book accurate people need to shut the fuck up at some point. And then I was also really surprised to see that Letty is still alive. Shocking.
Yeah, that was no one expected Michelle Rodriguez to make an appearance in this movie, and yet there she is, CGI
Um,
as well,
but seriously though, this looks awesome. Yeah, I'm ready for it.
like Galactus.
So
City looked cool.
they also did they played that trailer before F1 on Monday, and yeah, the Silver Surfer in particular looks great in IMAX. Looks really good.
And hearing her voice too in general was cool.
Hmm.
We had a trailer for Begonia drop right before we started. Two conspiracy obsessed young men kidnap the high powered CEO of a major company, convinced that she's an alien intent on destroying planet Earth. Yorgos Lanthimos, if you couldn't guess by the fact that Jesse Plemons and Emma Stone both star in it, as well as Alicia Silverstone, which I thought was kind of funny. Emma Stone and then Silverstone,
Mm.
the same movie.
Ooh.
Stavros randomly in this movie too. So cool. I mean, the cast has worked before. Everything they've done with Yorgos has worked. It's just I feel like this is similar to a plot of a movie I've seen before. I just can't think of which one it is. Like I don't. Maybe kind of like Pain and Gain a little bit. Uh,
Oh, that's a great call.
kind of like Saving Silverman a little bit in a way. Like just a whole,
Hmm.
like a small group of doofuses kidnapped a high powered person.
What was the basketball, the NBA one from like 1998, the comedy movie? What is that? Where they steal
Fuck.
some Boston guys steal like a Celtics player or a Knicks player? What is it? I can't remember. Or kidnap a Knicks player. But yeah, no. I will say this does. There are some familiar like plot points in here too, and it definitely like it feels like I mean a Yorgos film. I think it doesn't. I'm excited for this. Let me say that. I think this will end up being very good. Now, do I wish that he would rotate what actors he's using in these movies? I think yes. Like Emma Stone, I'd like to see do other things, and I'd like to see other people get the chance to work with Yorgos. Jesse Plemons too. He's just such a like unique director and gives actors the ability to really do some weird stuff. Where it feels like Emma Stone's just kind of hogging him.
Yeah, it is kind of frustrating, because even in like shoot, what is it? What's the one they just did that was all the had all the Oscars? Frankenstein,
Oh, poor things.
Poor Things. I was gonna say Beautiful Things. I was like, that's not right. I almost said Beautiful Dogs, which is the Shane Gillis thing. The other actors in that, like our good boy Christopher Abbott, like everyone else that had a chance to shine in it, that did a great work. And
Hmm.
I would agree with you. I do feel like even if you have your muse as a director, if you have like if you're Scorsese and you have De Niro, you know, whatever, you gotta like expand your horizons a little bit because you
Yeah.
can't about that.
She is 100% an alien, right? Just based on the trailer, like she's got to end up being an alien.
Yeah, I mean, although I feel like the clear thing is here they're trying to do like a sort of Pizzagate thing, right? Where like
Hmm.
making a commentary on that. So I don't know if he would gratify that
I think
section.
you can have your cake and eat. I think you can have your cake and eat it too in this situation. Like you can make them seem like complete nutsos schizos, but also end up being right in the end. I don't know.
We also had the trailer for Eden. Follows a group of people fueled by the profound desire for change in order to turn their back on society and leave everything behind and set their futures on the harsh landscape of the Galapagos Islands. Ron Howard directed, Jude Law, and Ron Howard, by the way, he should be in prison for what he did to Seth Rogen. That was unbelievable. That was not cool.
Oh,
Not cool
the
at all.
studio.
Yeah. Jude Law, Anna de Armas, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruhl, Sydney Sweeney. It's just like the hottest cast maybe ever.
Hmm.
Like the most sexually charged cast ever. Like literally, you have like three of three of the hottest female leads right now running the world. And I don't mean just like you know hot, like, hot. I
Hmm.
just like they are literally it's top of the charts hot everywhere. So that's crazy. However, the movie it did premiere at Toronto. It's sitting at a solid 57% off 30 critic reviews. Not great for old Ronnie H. But I'll be there. That's a cast I'm never going to say no to.
That's exactly my thoughts. I have had zero. I will say this: when it first got announced, I was like, on paper, this all sounds amazing. The premise sounds great. You know, you have a great cast. Ron Howard has proven he's a very strong director in the past. Recently, maybe not as much, but he can definitely direct the fuck out of a movie. And then it premiered, and people, it was the worst kind of premiere in that like people weren't even like, this is terrible, like a big swing and a miss. They were just like, it's really meh, like it's really bland, and that's the last thing you want to hear when you have a cast with Ana de Armas, Sydney Sweeney, Vanessa Kirby, and Jude Law. Like that is not what you want to hear. If you're gonna miss big, like.
Yeah.
But you still have to see the movie. Maybe, I mean, TIFF was a while ago. They could have recut this thing, edited, like it could look completely different from the cut that premiered, what, 6 months ago?
Yeah, literally last year. Like
Yeah. So the trailer looks good. Like if I didn't have that knowledge of like what people were saying coming out of the film, that it was just very bland and boring and meh, I'd be way more excited. So maybe I just have to push that to the side and go on with a clean slate, a fresh mind.
yeah. There's also a trailer for Roofman, the story of a rooftop robber, Jeffrey Manchester, great name, uh, and his time on the run, evading capture, directed by, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Derek Cianfrance, or Cianfrance, or I'm not sure.
Chanfront.
Sean France, he's an
I
American.
don't, I don't know.
And I should learn, I'm going to definitely now endeavor to learn it, because he directed Place Beyond the Pines and Blue
Mhm.
I like a lot. So it's Channing Tatum, Ben Mendo, Peter Dinklage, Kirsten Dunst, Juno Temple, and Lakeith Stanfield. Pretty great cast. The trailer looks awesome. Looks like a fun little crime comedy romp. Love that. And I feel we actually talked about this in our movie chat yesterday. Like Logan Lucky is pretty much proof positive that Channing Tatum can be super charming and perfect in this sort of role. So everything about this gets a huge thumbs up from me.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by the level of Logan Lucky vibes I really got off of it. Channing Tatum is like not the guy you would think to play like a criminal mastermind, but it seems like he can really kind of pull it off as like an everyman criminal. I love the premise. I can't believe that's a true story. Like something about the Toys R Us nostalgia just hits so nicely. Like I don't know why it's that maybe it's because it's something from my childhood that's now defunct and like gone, and Gen Z kids will never really experience it. Gen Alpha will never experience it, and it held such a special place in my heart, and now it's gone. And seeing it on the big screen and like the 2008 vibes of it, I don't know. I really love that. And then Kirsten Dunst, who just this is the first male actor she or male director she's no.
Like in a
I was
movie?
gonna say she's been on a streak of like female directors, but she definitely broke it with Civil War. She was for a while working with like only female directors,
Yeah.
but she has great taste, is what I was getting at. So that gives me a lot of hope. Like she picks really good stuff,
What was the
and Ben Mendo does too.
what was the M Night movie? It was Melancholia or something
Hmm.
with M Night. I forget. But yeah, this looks cool, interesting. I love crime comedies in general. I feel like they're way more hit than miss for me on the most part. Like even like crime comedies where I don't necessarily love them, like that one they did on Apple TV with like shoot,
The Instigators.
Skaters. Like I didn't love that, but I had a better time watching that than a lot of other movies I didn't like. You know what I mean? It's just
Hmm.
typically a more of a hit genre for me than a miss genre. So, and adding Channing Tatum to that, who has already been successful in this genre, I feel like is a big plus. Okay, so now we can get to the big two pieces of news, starting with the Social Network 2. Sorkin, they were initially looking around for directors. They cannot tunnel poor David Fincher out of Netflix jail. He's stuck there for the foreseeable future. He signed a 3-year extension with them, like what?
We cannot call this director jail Netflix jail when he has put the bars up himself.
It's self-imposed. Yeah, he's like a monk that took like a vow of silence or something like that for good movies. So like he's stuck there for another 3 years, unfortunately. So he cannot be part of this unless they were to renounce their rights to it.
Which, by the way, we also got an update on his fucking Tarantino spinoff thing. Brad Pitt says it's like not even going to be a movie. Like it's going to be like a 50-minute episode, which fucking Fincher, man. All right.
Death.
Let's get on. Let's get back to Social Network.
I love him to death. I feel like he's just been like trying to take in like a 7-year vacation, sort of, just being like, yeah, I'm just gonna make a couple things that I would just want to make because I know Netflix will pay for it no matter what, and I don't really want to answer to anybody. And you know, to a degree, and if you're a director, that's the type of freedom not a lot of people have. But I do wish he was making more good stuff, to be sure.
Yeah.
So now Aaron Sorkin, who wrote the first one, will now write and direct The Social Network 2. It is going to be based on the Wall Street Journal article, The Facebook Files. And sources stressed that the new film is not a January 6th movie and will focus not just on the 2020 election, but also Facebook's effect on teens, preteens, violence, and countries outside of the United States. However, I have seen conflicting sources say, not like my sources, but people say that they've seen the exact opposite from everyone that they've talked to about the movie, that the movie is essentially one big January 6th thing. And when I hear that, and when I hear Aaron Sorkin directing, every single flag I have goes up. Because as much as I liked what he did in Molly's Game, which is a movie I really like, and as much as I think I liked Being the Ricardos more than most people, this would be more akin to The Trial of the Chicago 7, which is the ultimate smelling your own farts, sort of like broken political brain movie I've ever seen. And when I hear that combined with January 6th, him like chomping at the bit to be the first guy to really address January 6th in a movie, I'm very worried. I'm very, very worried. Also, Eisenberg probably not going to be a huge part of this because they don't know how much the Zuckerberg will even be a part of it just in general because he's not really in the article, I guess, as prominent. So they don't know if Eisenberg will be back. They don't know what the cast will be. That's even whatever. It's just that right now, when I hear Sorkin writing and directing a movie that's going to be very focused on January 6th, that to me is troubling.
Yeah, this is strangely like a worst case scenario in terms of director almost. Sorkin's not like the worst director in the world. It's just he's the one of the last people I want to have like their hands on this.
Yeah.
Like I know early drafts went around when Sorkin was, Sorkin and Fincher were working on the original Social Network, and like his idea for the film was he wanted to be like almost a comedy, like a college comedy of like them like fucking around and like putting the website together and stuff like that. And it wasn't until Fincher was like, I think we should make this a little bit more serious and darker and put his own twist onto it that we got the masterpiece that is 2015 Social Network. And I think a lot of the thing that made the first Social Network so like effective without, it's such a big thing, Facebook, and it really took over our lives and was already taking over our lives at that point, was that it focused on like the cause way more than the effect. Like we didn't really see Facebook like that much in the movie. We saw the subscriber base or the user base growing on a big screen, but we never really saw the effects of it. A lot of it was in boardrooms and college dorms and, college admission offices or dean's offices. I worry that this focuses on the real world a little too much and not like, how did we get here? Yeah, it's sticky. And Sorkin, I think, has really just fallen on him and McKay both. We have that group chat going yesterday and we're talking about, if you like Sorkin, you'll like McKay, but it's kind of a double-edged sword where I think both their brains have been broken by the past 10 years and their boomer lid brains just cannot handle what's going on. And
With any subtle,
I don't know. I would really, I hope they have someone come in and if not help him direct, help him on the script, which Sorkin's one of the best writers ever, but I think he'll need to be reined in on this one. Like,
yeah.
Quite a bit.
And I think it'll be interesting because they could touch on other stuff with Facebook, like buying Instagram, like all these other things they did. And you could also talk on like misinformation for sure, because as people our age migrated away from Facebook and towards the other social media apps, and it just became mostly older people, like you have so much information posted on there nonstop with just like in a very brutal echo chamber where it's like it'll be one of my favorite things on is like the old boomer Facebook memes would be like Morgan Freeman, the fakest quote you've ever seen in your entire life. Like, yeah, I hate liberals. I fucking think that Joe Biden should die in a ditch. And everyone's like, so true, Morgan Freeman, so true. And like there's that sort of stuff exists out there and is very prolific. You could definitely talk about that. But again, Sorkin, especially when you watch Trial of Chicago 7, has just lost that level of subtlety. And I worry about that here, like tremendous. Plus, just visually, I mean, I think the Social Network is so fascinating, and so much of that is Fincher. So losing that and going to Sorkin, I don't think that.
Also, Reznor and Ross are gone too.
Ross, yeah, that's also massive. So I don't know. Maybe if they can get, it'd be a good team to help handle this. Maybe is like the Blueberry or Blackberry team, whoever they could get from that movie.
Oh,
for music and that, because I liked. Blackberry, severely underappreciated movie. More people should have watched Blackberry. Very cool corporate history movie, I guess. Very cool. I wouldn't mind them having a stab at this.
Yeah, I'm just very hesitant on what they're gonna do here. I'll need some more details. Like Eisenberg also not coming back for this, which.
As long as I don't want him shoehorning in more Zuckerberg if he isn't a huge part of the story, really. You know what I mean?
How is he not a huge part of the story?
I guess because it's more about the people who became the more de facto leaders of Facebook while he was sort of not like clocking out, but like not as interested or not as focused on the day to day. You know what I mean?
Yes, but again, like I think the most interesting thing about Facebook in the past 10 years were those Senate hearings and then kind of the fallout on Zuckerberg's image and his rebrand up until now.
Him and smoking those.
I feel like that's by far the most interesting thing that's happened over there in a while. I guess the pivot to AI and the politics of it all, but like the thing about the first social network is Facebook wasn't the only, store in town, but they were like 99% of what social media was at that point, and now they're half of it. And then maybe not even half anymore with TikTok and Twitter and, the disease of like political misinformation is not something that exists only to Facebook. Like,
yeah. I wouldn't mind having Eisenberg replicate the smoking meats or the him on the surfboard, which was so funny.
Yes. Wearing a Cuban link, getting the perm. The movie ends like with a makeover.
Yeah.
He's going shopping for gold chains. He's like,
him with, what's his name, Johnny Trang, the guy that does like the grills for everybody. Like,
he's meeting up with Joe Rogan so he can do some MMA training.
Yeah, it could be good. I'm gonna withhold most judgment. I'm just gonna say that I'm hesitant about this just because.
Yes.
So now we can talk about the biggest news item, which is Denis Villeneuve, who is I would say of the newer generation of directors, he is like the 1A, 1B with Nolan as far as,
Hmm.
and it's weird. You kind of have to give the edge to Nolan. Like, I think I like,
Big time on it's Nolan by far right now, just
because
in terms of brand, name brand. Like,
yes, no question about that. But I think it's more like I like most of Denis Villeneuve's movies better than Nolan's.
okay.
But Nolan has the box office receipts to back it all up. Like he
Mm,
blows Villeneuve out the water in that category, like in triple or something like that.
yeah.
So I think you have to give the edge to Nolan there for sure. And it's not saying like, oh my God, Christopher Nolan stinks. He's one of the best filmmakers of all time. Like it's just like to me, Denny's just like has that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. So he will now be directing Bond. It's a fascinating pairing, I think, because Denis Villeneuve is like, I think one of the most prolific new sci-fi directors to ever come around. He's so good
Hmm.
at it in Arrival, in Blade Runner, in Dune. Like he's so, and the fact that he was able to take something in Dune, which nobody had been able to really figure out how to like make digestible to a regular audience, and turn it into a pretty straightforward, I would say, like political intrigue thriller, is great. The fact that he's able to weave all these really complicated storylines with like, I would say like you would you consider broad spectrum like espionage things with like, or at least like intrigue thing level things with like prisoners, with Blade Runner, with other things. Like I think you could. I think applying that to James Bond could be so cool in so many different ways, and I could not be more excited for this pairing.
Yeah, this was like a absolute bomb on the timeline. Out of nowhere. It's one of those ones where you look twice, you look three times, you Google it to make sure you're not being like NBA centelled, because it's almost unbelievable that this happened. I think when we talked about the potential, suitors for this job, we almost didn't even really talk about Villeneuve as an option. Like he was a pie in the sky option. We were like, Edgar Wright might be cool. Berger would be great. Maybe Jonathan Nolan.
Jonathan Nolan was like I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Jonathan Nolan taking
Yeah,
over. Fucking Denis Villeneuve, it's crazy.
crazy. So yeah, no, I'm pumped. I've been kind of shocked by the negative reaction online from people who are like, it's a safe choice. Hey, whatever. He'll crush this, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking with Berger last week, where I was like, he's really shown an ability to adapt novels. The same thing can be said for Villeneuve. I mean, Arrival, based on a short story, and then these Dune books, which were, like you said, long just written off as an impossible task to adapt, and he has done it with flying colors. And now he's going to do Messiah, which even more complicated. So yeah, this is a great pick. I think people who are like mild on it are insane. Um, it's like the people who were like doubting Nolan before Oppenheimer, like doubting Nolan's abilities as a director. Like, I don't know, you're insane. So yeah, Villeneuve, great pick. I think it'd be hard to pick someone better, and especially with the Bond franchise. I mean, it's going into new hands, obviously with Amazon MGM.
Yep.
They're gonna have a new actor in place.
New producers,
It's gonna be
a couple other people.
yeah. By the time this comes out, it'll probably have been 8 years ish. 2021 is when No Time to Die came out.
You're right.
So this probably won't be out till like 28, 27, the earliest. Yeah, it'll be a while. So like getting a big name director in there, I think helps. I think it kind of says we're in a new era. And it says Amazon MGM is like here to play. Also, like they are committed to this franchise and getting, really good foundational pieces in.
It does remind. I love that reaction, by the way, of people being like, "Oh, it's a safe pick." It's like that's like your team trading for like Aaron Judge, and you being like, "Oh, all he does is hit home runs and get on base." Like that's just too safe of a trade. Like you got like one of the best directors on the planet to handle a franchise. Like that is as good as it goddamn gets. And the only thing that could potentially make this better is just nailing whoever it is that they're going to cast as Bond. I'm trying to think of ways just to play devil's advocate into how it couldn't. Like, I saw you quote tweet someone that's like that was going off on oh, he's not sensual enough. He doesn't do enough like romance. He doesn't do enough any of this. Like that stuff like I can't imagine. That's like fucking. I can't imagine that comes difficult to Villeneuve to try and like write like him being saying some chauvinist. It's like, nice tits, love. Like I can't imagine that's too hard for him to make some sexual puns for James Bond.
It's also like none of his movies have really called for. He hasn't been telling stories that call for sexual or sensual. Like he's not going to stick that into fucking Sicario or Arrival or Enemy or any of the movies really that he's done. The one moment he had the opportunity to with the Bene Gesserit, I think he really fucking crushed it with Leia Sadu. She was a very sexual and sensual character, and those were beautifully shot scenes on Getty Prime. I don't know why you'd have any concern with him. He has proven time and time again that no matter what you give him to direct, he can do it. Like he can really just knock it out of the park.
Yeah. He also, by the way, the I would call the scene with Emily Blunt and John Bernthal was also kind of sensual too. Like we're like hitting on each other in the bar. Like, it's not like it doesn't exist in his filmography.
Yeah.
That I don't get. Also, like it would kind of depend if he's even the writer. Like somebody else could be writing this as well. Like all that stuff. I do not think there's going to be any issues with that whatsoever. So now the big question, and again, this is about when everyone heard that.
I would say one concern I do think is valid is that will it look? This is where this is going to sound crazy. I hope he doesn't bring in Roger Deakins. He's worked with Deakins in the past, but my concern is if he brings Deakins in, it ends up looking like Skyfall. I think again.
I think if the biggest concern you have is that it looks too similar to the best movie in the James Bond brand.
Yes.
Yes,
that's a rich person's problem. You're exactly right.
The first world problem. And I think, by the way, again, to reiterate, it changed when the movie franchise changed hands from the Broccoli family, which had it since its inception, been very careful with it. Although, again, to be very, very clear, way more James Bond movies are bad than are good. They were very judicious with it. And changed hands to Amazon MGM with Jeff Bezos. People were pissed. People in Hollywood weren't happy about it. Fans weren't happy about it. But I think that this, as a first move, is about as big a home run as you can get. You know what I mean? Like starting off with getting one of the biggest directors on the planet to come to be the head of this new reboot or iteration of James Bond is about as good as it gets. So now the big questions, as I talk through, what you might be able to hear is just insane levels of fire hydrant or fire sirens going past me. Is who's Bond? Who's the other characters? Who's the villain? What do you do? So what we did ahead of time was we just kind of put together who we think could work for a few different characters. And I haven't looked at your list yet. I've only kept on mine. So first up, just the obvious question, who to play James Bond? Who's going to play 007? And I'll start out by just saying there is one actor who was essentially confirmed to have been offered the role of James Bond last year, or late last year. And that's Aaron Taylor Johnson. He was, according to people, offered the role of James Bond, and I don't know if he had said yes or no. And also, as Robbie Fox had sent in our chat from the 28 years later, or maybe it was you that sent it in our chat.
Yeah.
8 years later, press tour. Aaron Taylor Johnson, and when asked like, "What are you doing next?" He's like, "I can't tell you. It's a big secret. Can't tell you. It's a big secret." This would be about as big a secret as you could possibly get. So I think that would be an interesting pick. I think he's got the goods in that sort of way. If you go watch some of the movies where he's played like a more sleek, handsome man, most specifically Bullet Train, he's got it. He's got it. He's British, handsome, charismatic. We even interviewed him a while back, and he was great too. I think he physically has all the traits to charming. He's got all of it. He's got everything you need. He's a 5-tool player, and that's what you need for Bond.
A little short, which always shocks me how short he is.
Shorter or break though.
Yeah, that's not a big deal to me. He would be a good pick. I do think that. I wonder now, though, how long has Amazon known that they're going to get Villeneuve? Does that change things for Aaron Taylor Johnson? I don't know. I will say, I think one of the big indicators for who he'll choose, and I think Villeneuve will end up with final say on this. I'd be shocked if he signed on to do this without final say. Is in that statement he released last night with the acceptance of the job he talked about how much he loved Sean Connery's Bond and how he grew up with those Bonds and how he revered those, watching those with his dad. So I think we do get kind of an old school look here. and maybe an old school actor. And I think Aaron Taylor Johnson is fits that bill. He's almost too ripped right now. I kind of would like to see him put on a little bit of body fat on his body. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we're gonna do the old school thing, don't be too ripped. But he's got that burliness to him, that old school old man burliness. I'd like him. Someone on my timeline last night threw out Dan Stevens, which I'd never considered, but it is an interesting pick. Tall, lanky, handsome, and also doesn't have like that big IP background where you're going to be bogged down watching it, at least for general audiences.
I mean,
And then Josh O'Connor.
he was extracting Godzilla's tooth in a movie not too recently.
He was.
King Kong's tooth.
Who can forget? Who can forget the dentist, the kaiju dentist?
Yeah.
The Australian kaiju dentist. No clue why he did the Australian accent still. So Dan Stevens would be a fun, interesting pick, and I also think he's got like that British cheekiness to him, that fun cheekiness that a lot of people have wanted. And I'm still kind of leaning Josh. I really like Josh O'Connor. I don't know. He's got that old school look. It's really La Chimera. He's wearing that white suit the whole time and ripping cigs. He really does look like Connery and Dr. No in that movie.
He is.
It'll be interesting.
I think Josh O'Connor's too British looking.
Too British?
Too British. Like he's got like that sort of like semi-inbred British look. You know what I mean? Where like Sean Connery had the more like burly, old school, handsome look, which I do not think Josh Connor possesses like at all. Like he has more. Okay. Like he has more like a Callum Turner-y look to me, where it's like that's the new school.
They do look similar.
A British look. Or like Harris Dickinson, or like one of those dudes. Like, which is
I saw someone throw out Harris Dickinson. That'd be a terrible pick.
Awful pick. Yeah.
Cavill, do you think
floated around, which I wouldn't despise, because he does. Here's the let's say the example to run off of your comparative analysis. Him in what was the movie he did with Armie Hammer? Shoot.
Oh,
spy movie with
Guy Ritchie movie. The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He was just an American James Bond in that, and he was great.
The Woman from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood reference.
Yeah.
He was really, that's one of his best performances by far.
And he was just American Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Smooth, womanizer, one-liners, sexual innuendos, slick back hair, suit. He had all of it.
My thing with Cavill is it's like one of those things like the Krasinski Mr. Fantastic, where I get the feeling that once we get it, it may be not what you'd expect. And he's also just so tied into the Superman role as it is. He'll just forever be the guy who played Superman to most people. Yeah. And that makes things really, that's where I was about to ask, do you think they even go with someone that we even are thinking of, like a name that we'd even think of?
I have no clue. The thing with Denny is I feel like he could go anywhere. We can end up with like, imagine Jeremy Renner Bond.
Tom Holland. I will say there are 3 people attached to this movie right now, and or 4, I guess technically. It's Denis Villeneuve and his creative partner and like romantic interest, Tanya LaPointe, who's a producer. And then it's Amy Pascal,
who does love Tom Holland,
who produced all Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, which is pretty interesting, and the Barbie movie also, I guess. And then David Heyman, who's done a mix of things, namely the Harry Potter movies, which I'll have a casting coming up, kind of pivoting off that. But the Amy Pascal involvement worries me a little bit. I don't know. She's
go that young for Tom Holland. I just don't see a world in which he becomes the guy.
No,
unless like the dailies on Odyssey are insane. Like, oh my god,
that's true.
But I don't see necessarily that. I think they would go more for like an upper 30s.
Yeah, before the Denny announcement, I would have seen a world in which they go younger. But now that he's on board, I don't really see that as a thing that he'd do with his franchise. Especially, like I said, his clear love for the Connery Bonds. I think he'll go 40s. He's probably the youngest, like early 40s.
He also just loves guys with range, and
yeah,
I love Henry Cavill to death. Like, I just don't know if he can reach like that next level necessarily. Uh,
Mm.
as charismatic and great visually he is as Bond. That's why I do think Aaron Taylor Johnson, who I do feel has met that level in certain movies, would be a little bit better. And he's just handsome as fuck. So okay, so the next,
He's got to. Aaron Taylor Johnson's got to be pretty happy that Craven movie fucking flopped to hell, and he doesn't have to be tied up with that Sony. Like he's got to be so happy that Sony universe died.
flop to the point where it's like no one even remembers it. Like,
Exactly. Like no one is ever going to be like the guy from Craven.
yeah, never gonna happen. Thank God. So the next question would be, who do you want to play M? And my choice for this is, I'm kind of shocked, and I haven't actually backchecked it to make sure this he wasn't in like one of the Timothy Dalton Bonds or something. Patrick Stewart's never been in a Bond movie.
Oh,
Patrick Stewart would be an incredible M, would he not?
he would be. Now, is he too old?
To play M? I mean, Judi Dench.
How old is he?
Age.
She was spry.
He is 84. That is old.
That's old.
But he,
But I definitely see the vision
yeah. Let's see. Is he ever in James?
because M, in a way, is like a Professor X type character, like the overseer of her garden or his garden.
I think he'd be great. He has the voice. He has the sort of background. Like him as a British intelligence officer makes the most sense in the world to me. I think it's perfect.
No, I like that pick, especially if he's like good to go and ready to do it. My pick is Ray Fiennes. Keep him.
Just keep him on.
They did it. They did it for Judi Dench. I mean, she stayed on from. I mean, she was
Brosnan.
M for 8 movies, 7 movies. So Ray Fiennes has done it twice now. He's one of the best living actors. He did a lot of work with David Heyman back in the day on those Harry Potter movies. I think it'd be interesting, and it'd like carry the tradition of Bond of keeping some of these people. The actor for Q, I think the second actor played him for 30 years, like across like 15 movies, 16 movies. So there is a precedence for this, and anytime I can get Ray Fiennes, like I don't know, he's aging, he's getting older. Like I want as much Ray Fiennes as I possibly can get, especially in like an iconic British franchise like this. Keep him around or bring him back. I don't know, and have him play like a villain and just act like nothing before ever happened.
Put him in a bunch of prosthetics. Maybe no nose.
Yeah,
Got burned off.
yeah,
Yeah, but someone had mentioned, by the way, his last like his filmography recently has just been it's always been insane. But like
yeah.
20 years later, he was incredible. The Return was also good, by the way.
Hmm.
Conclave fucking blew the doors off. And then, like the Menu, like he's been on a serious fucking heater. So I think that's not terrible either. I wouldn't despise him coming back because again, like you mentioned, one of the all-time great actors in the world.
Yeah.
Has the juice. Obviously, we saw he was great as them in Bond or Ray. So who would you want to play Q is the next one. So for me, I think that the one guy I thought of was, and I don't know why he was one. Maybe because you had recently sent a meme of him. Martin Freeman, I think, wouldn't be a bad Q. Just a
Oh,
tiny little guy fidgeting with his gadgets. He's got the little comic relief to him that I think fits really well for the role of Q. And I think that would be a pretty solid pick for Q.
I like that a lot. I like that a whole lot. I mean, I love Martin Freeman.
Me too.
To be clear, like he's got one of those. He's like the good version of Office Jim. Obviously, like he did play Jim in the UK version. But there's like, whereas like John Krasinski got out of the role and just became less likable over time. Like Martin Freeman ages and just becomes more and more lovable. Like maybe it's the Hobbit franchise where he's just forever going to be a Hobbit in my mind now too. Where I just love him.
Sure.
I like that pickle.
Literally, if he just plays his it's Sherlock
Holmes.
Yeah, Watson. He's Watson.
Yes. Yeah, not Holmes. Yeah, Watson. Holmes and Watson.
Plays Dr. Watson. I think that's perfect. Like
That is a that is a great call. I was actually kind of stuck on this one because it's so hard to pick.
you know what I was also thinking would be kind of funny is if they cast an insanely hot guy as Q, like a non-confident hot guy like Himbo as Q, and just like Theo James.
Theo, I was literally about to say Theo James. Pick up. This is what they should do. You're exactly right. So there's like a trend of this over the history of like blockbusters for the past 20 years where they'll get, Cillian Murphy and Christian Bale both auditioned for Batman, but Cillian Murphy has such a good audition. They're like, you know what? We're just going to keep you around. You're going to play the psycho scarecrow villain. Maybe just take one of the scraps from all these like other people, and bring them in, like Henry Cavill. Have Henry Cavill play you, or like one of these guys who doesn't get the Bond role. That would be fun.
It'd be funny if I think the visual of a Q that's like James Bond or yeah, the Q of just being like James Bond, you get all the girls. You're so handsome. How do you do it? And he's just the most handsome man, also equally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think visually is kind of fun.
Especially if they have those little tiny glasses Theo James was wearing in The Monkey. Those tiny glasses.
Tiny ass glasses would be huge.
I was going through Villeneuve's filmography to try and find like British actors he's worked with in the past, and it's kind of stunning. He really hasn't worked with many at all.
He's a wow, man. They do not lie. They not fuck with the English.
He does not. So I couldn't really get a read on like where he could possibly go, and so that's why I started looking at who are the producers on and try to pull from there. It's kind of tough to get a read at all on what they would do. Would you swing for a Tom Holland here? Would you swing for a Tom Holland Q?
Yeah.
If he didn't have the Spider-Man background, he would be a great fit.
If he was, I think he'd be a good like sidekick to Bond somehow. You know what I mean? Like his page.
That's kind of what Q is.
No, I want Q to be. I like when the original Q was like old.
Oh,
I mean,
so you're thinking like Tom Holland is like a 009 or whatever, like
yeah, or some shit like that. Like he's a fresh recruit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I like when Q was like old, and I didn't particularly love Winshaw's Q, like the squirrely.
Me neither.
But I think that's where I think that's the opposite. Like he was like squirrely, strange British, but I think that Freeman is like he's Paddington at your Q, which I love. I think that's a cool.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw one more thing out at you, which it would be insane. But he's done all the franchises. He's done them all, and he's played a role very similar to this. Simon Pegg, iconic British actor. Simon Pegg.
I feel like there's just too tied up. Mission Impossible is the issue there.
It's the exact same role.
Yeah, it's just too tied in. This is the same thing. Although Nick Frost, on the other hand,
oh,
or if they just had like Pierce Brosnan play the tech guy.
that'd actually be really cool. That'd be awesome.
I mean,
I would love that.
And they'd be like, and they could keep asking like, so what'd you used to do before you became Q? And he's like, huh? No, nothing. Work the agency.
I'll throw one more trio of names at you, or I actually don't know how many of them there are off the top of my head. The Skarsgård family is out there. Villeneuve has worked with Stellan. Would you do any of the Skarsgårds as a Q?
Greek one, the one that's from Peter, I think, or whichever one was in Vikings. I don't think Bill or
okay.
Good fit for that, but I think the other guy might be not bad.
Yeah. What about Alexander Skarsgård as Bond? That'd be crazy.
But he's just like the English accent.
He's not British.
Particular.
Yeah.
And unless they were a migrant Bond would throw them into a fucking hizzy over there. They would burn that island down. But anyway,
they're gonna Brexit again.
Yeah. They would. And then lastly, villain. We were talking about. There's a lot of people to choose from. I think that one that stood out to me that I think has not really had the opportunity in a while to flex this sort of muscle. And he's British. He's got the look. He has the ability. Jude Law, I think, would be a really cool Bond.
Ooh. He would be great. I mean, Jude Law's having a bit of a renaissance right now, and he's just aging so well.
It was awesome. He was so good in it.
Yeah, no, I really like that pick. Would you have him be like? So I feel like there's like different classifications of Bond. Like there's like the billionaire, like there's the straight up like capitalist billionaire. There's the techie guy. There's always like the
classic. I used to work for MI6 and they discarded me.
Okay.
Because that's like every other Bond villain. I think he could be the classic that. I also think like I'm in my head I'm picturing almost like his performance in The Young Pope, like that sort of like sit back and he's not like I don't see him as like a kinetic villain. I see him more,
Mm-mm.
sitting back, menacing, ordering his minions out to do things.
Hmm. I like that. I was gonna go the other side of the gender spectrum to Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah,
I would really love that. I'll be honest. She is I mean, she really teeters towards villainous in Dune Part Two,
I don't see him as
and she's
it's like kind of an antagonist at points.
yes, and she fits really well. I mean, she really just pops in that espionage setting. Like she just has the look for it. The slight Swedish accent that pokes through is perfect, and I think could play well as a villain also.
Mhm.
Um, really just lobbying to get her in more like, night ball gowns, tightly fitting night ball gowns that show off her 8 foot long legs.
It would be very cool. Have we ever had a Bond villain that was a woman, like main villain?
Surely
I don't know. There's definitely been
not a main villain, but
definitely been
there's
antagonists that were women, but I don't think there's ever been like a main villain that was a woman that I could think of. Unless I'm missing some shit from like the Dalton era or something like that. Let's see. I'll take a peek through.
also another name I forgot. I did have this written down. David Dasmalchian, who's a Villeneuve veteran, like one of his go-to guys, and I think does deserve big roles like this. And he's very dark, very brooding. I think he'd fit well in there. Him in a suit, he looks good in a suit.
Yeah. So look at the lists. Most of the ones I could find, like the role.
Like him as a doctor. I know we just did Doctor No again with Rami Malek was a Doctor No, right?
Rami Malek was in No Time to Die. He's
Yes, but wasn't his villain Doctor No? Wasn't that a rehash? I could be wrong.
I don't remember, to be honest. It was not a super memorable movie for me.
Yeah, but I would say David Dalsmalchian probably would have to just be like a techie guy, and I don't know if we want to do that twice in a row.
Yeah, that's which is understandable. Oh, Xena Onatopp, I forgot about in game and GoldenEye. She was Sean Bean's like number two, but again, most of the women
Okay.
are too. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Um, some other guys I was thinking of like Cumberbatch hasn't had a chance really to feel like to be a villain again, like not kind of bullshit like Phoenician Scream, like an actual villain. And I feel like the one
Hmm.
really had the chance to do it was like Star Trek 2, which was a flop, and I feel like he was good in it. Not a great movie. He was good, and I feel like the chance for him to flex that again would be cool. Try to think of some other good British actors that might fit that bill. Also, having like a legacy guy come back to be one wouldn't be bad. Like, but I'm assuming since they want to restart, they definitely want to like hit with someone strong, like a strong casting.
Hmm.
Like, do they reboot like with a class like a Blofeld? Do they reboot with a Goldfinger? Do they reboot with a like it really that could be a strong way to start, right? Just getting a classic Bond villain restarted.
Goldfinger, I think would be great. Just thinking about like what that would look like, especially like thinking about like Villeneuve.
Finger, Skarsgård, Alexander Skarsgård, Goldfinger could be fucking awesome.
There we go. There we go. We just figured it out.
Just
Uh,
as Goldfinger and Benedict Wong as Oddball or whatever.
oh shit. There we
Just
go.
figured it out. He's also English, by the way. Benedict Wong. This is all coming together.
I did not know that. I don't think I've ever heard him use a British accent.
In what do you call it?
Sunshine?
Sunshine? He was British, is he not?
Maybe I just wasn't paying hard enough
Not
attention to his
Sunshine, maybe
accent.
Prometheus. Prometheus. I'm pretty sure he had a British accent. Um,
Uh,
but yeah, what about that? Alexander Skarsgård as Goldfinger, and is it Odd Job? Sorry, right? Odd Job, yeah. And then Benedict Wong.
yeah. As random task.
Yeah, random task. Fucking funny, dude. Maybe this could actually lead to us getting a reboot of Austin Powers, which would be incredible. They hold up.
Oh, man, that'd be great.
Like
Um,
you're watching those movies, they have definitely like super dated material, but no question. But like the core timeless jokes are so funny.
mhm. Yeah, it's so much visual sight gags that it just kind of doesn't age. Let me read you some names that are followers replied to us with. Tom Hardy,
For Bond, no, he's too grisly.
too grizzly. I
We just
also think
had
he's
that.
just
We just kind of had that with that was the Daniel Craig one. So don't want to do it again.
yeah. Callum Turner, I think you kind of covered that with Josh O'Connor. John David Washington,
No,
no.
you
This is
would burn that island to the ground before they allowed John David Washington to play James Bond.
kind of on the same path, but this guy is British.
Yeah.
Dev Patel, who has been thrown out for a long time.
Uh, like theoretically, yes, because I think he hit a lot of those marks for Bond in Monkey Man, where like
Hmm.
it was smooth, physical, wore the suit well, all those things. So theoretically, yes.
Hmm.
I just don't know. Like the sexual end of it is where, or sensual end of it is definitely where I'm a little like, I don't think I've ever seen Dev Patel, which who is a very attractive man. I don't know that I've ever seen him be in a sensual role before.
No, I'm trying to think as well. I guess in the Green Knight at the beginning, he kind of has some moments with his lady friend. Um, but outside that, has he ever been late in a movie?
Which is not to say like it's an impossible thing for him to do or that he's never done it before. Just like I just haven't seen that personally.
He's boyfriend material.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
want, by the way, from Bond.
no. Let me see. George Mackay. That's an interesting pick.
British looking, too British looking.
Too British.
Again,
Great actor though.
it's a weird thing to say about Bond, but there's that certain look of young British actors that I just do not think is good for this, which is Callum Turner and George Mackay, who look almost the same, and then Josh O'Connor's, the Dickinsons, like those guys all look exactly the same to me. You just got to put them in a corner for this, in my opinion.
Hmm. How about Richard Madden? Another guy who's been floated for years.
Yeah, see, like he has the old school classic look. He definitely would look good in a suit.
Is he a good enough actor?
So my what I would take from for this is Bodyguard, which is a great series that I don't think
Hmm.
I've seen on Netflix. He was very good in that as an actor, as a genuine actor, and he was also good in his. Speaking of George Mackay, in 1917, his scene was great.
Oh yeah, I forgot it.
He delivers. He's the brother of Harry Dean Chapman, or whatever his name is. Poor lad.
Should really just go through the 1917 cast list. I feel like every British actor ever was in there.
Cumberbatch was there. Andrew, shoot, Hot Priest was there. Whatever his name is. Yeah, they had everyone. They really did have everyone in that movie. But yeah, I think that he wouldn't be bad, but he also wouldn't be like in my top five.
Here's a guy that's been picking up steam lately. Aaron Pierre, out of nowhere.
I
People have been attaching him to this Bond role out of nowhere.
There's just not enough body of work. You know what I mean? Like
That's exactly how I feel.
he has one movie where I'm like, whoa, he was really good in that as a badass American action hero, and I thought that was really cool. I want to see way more of that. I don't know if that necessarily translates to Bond at all.
He's also going to be tied up with the DCU for the foreseeable future. So I just don't even know how that's a viable option. Robert Pattinson, another kind of situation where it's like he's just tied up and
Yeah.
does he want to do more franchise work? I don't know. And he's Batman.
It's just that's once you cast Robert Pattinson, you clearly define what that Bond is going to be. Kind of, I feel like.
Hmm.
Like I don't think you're going to do goofy accented Mickey 17 type of Bond. You're going to have like a more dour, closer to what we got out of Skyfall Bond.
Could do Tenet though. His Tenet performance was very Bond-esque.
Close to
Idris Elba, I think, is the boat has sailed. At one point in time, it would have been awesome, but
almost 60.
he's, yeah, unfortunately. Colin Farrell, that's another. I think he might be too old for that.
He's, I think, kind of close. He's like upper 40s, if not 50. Like then they're trying to restart with a whole new thing. I think he was want to go a little bit younger.
How about Chet Hanks?
Chet Hanks,
Hear me out.
me bone book that. He's again. I'll give Chet Hanks a better actor than I think anyone ever gave him credit for.
Oh, absolutely. So those are like the real serious names. The rest are just racist and really misogynistic replies, of course.
What's in the
That's great.
misogynistic reply for Bond? Like want like
Uh, there's one in here like it's probably going to be a gay gay black
Yeah,
woman.
gay,
Is what
lesbian, trans, LGBTQ, member of fucking Antifa. Yeah, get the fucking ticket.
uh,
The who'd be the weirdest?
the weirdest pick.
John Cena Bond
It would have to be someone very American. Uh, that would be like a crazy, like that'd be insane pick for him.
as Bond.
I'll tell you what, they played the new trailer for his Smashing Machine. The second trailer, they played that before F1 the other night. Holy shit, he is actually going to get a nom. He really might get a nom.
He's actually like getting the attempt to, the opportunity to act in this, which is so fucking sick. Which again might turn out bad. We have no idea, but he looks different. He doesn't just look like The Rock on screen. You know what I mean? He looks like a different. He's acting.
Let me tell you, he was putting in some work in the footage I saw. Like he looks like he's really coming for it. I was kind of blown away in the short footage. Yeah, that's Bond.
He also, by the
The
way,
Rock Bond.
who doesn't love or who loves suits more than The Rock?
He does love his suits, man.
Yeah, this guy fucking loves suits. He's also like we were just talking about the age thing. He's like 50 years old, so that wouldn't work. But
Yeah,
if there's anyone else I can think of,
Mark Wahlberg.
oh my god, that'd be so funny just to watch the like the whole island explode like in flames when they cast or like Kevin Hart or like oh
James Bond. James Bond.
I'm fucking James Bond.
No, this martini. This martini's not shaking. It's
Matt,
or this martini's not. It's stirred. It's not shaking.
Matt Damon or like Ben Affleck or this is more the most. Oh, you know, it would be so fucking funny if they did this. They would never do it. Although, just in sort of like keeping with how the movie sphere has been lately, imagine they cast Pedro Pascal as Bond. Like, I'm just gonna say, there's a non-zero chance that that happens at the rate that we're going right now.
We don't know what. That's the other like really fucked up thing about this. We still have to remember that this is Amazon MGM, who like has not been able to figure anything out for the past fucking 5 years. Like they really could. Like this is the best thing they've done in 5 years. Is just getting a good director.
There is a very decent chance that they just are going into the word cloud, seeing what's appealing to all the quadrants, and then they're just gonna come out and be like, "So, Denny, I think you have to cast Pedro Pascal here. You have no choice." Oh fuck it!
Oh God.
That just reminded me because of Fantastic Four. Joe. Oh my God, who's playing Johnny Storm?
Joe Quinn.
Joe Quinn. Fox, don't do that. Please don't do that. Please, God.
Nah,
I'm praying.
he doesn't.
Please don't do that.
He doesn't have the look at all.
Not even close. But there British actors are just like a different level, man. You have people going nuts for him like he's an Adonis. It's crazy.
Again, he's got boyfriend face where it's like he's handsome. He's a very good looking man, but he's not like there's just a very, and we've talked about this forever. There's a very certain sex appeal to James Bond that is not many like good looking men have it. Like good looking men don't have it. Like
Brosnan
it's just
still has it. Daniel Craig.
still, I'd argue it's like getting stronger. Brosnan, he gets older and he gets better looking. It's crazy.
Dude, let me tell you, even like Timothy Dalton still has it. Like these guys,
Yeah.
it's wonders. Like Sean Connery had that aura to the day he died. Like he
Yep.
had it. Even Roger Moore, like they all had the juice.
Yep.
And which I don't think any of these younger British actors, like we were talking about, or like they don't have like the TikTok boy generation of British actors.
No. Let's get a broccoli head James Bond.
Like a chav or whatever they call them, like the dudes in the tracksuits and knives or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Oh my God.
but yeah, so that's James Bond. Very excited to see what Denny can do with this movie. Again, best directors in the world making a movie in one of the most storied, iconic franchises in cinema. All of this is good, and I feel like if you think it's not going to be good, you're okay. Let me rephrase. If you think Denny is incapable of making one of the best James Bond movies ever, I think you're a crazy person. You know,
Yeah.
you're a crazy person. I mean, things can go wrong down the road. Maybe he has to back out, whatever. But like, if you think he's incapable of making one of the best Bond movies, I think you're nuts. So very excited for that. Hesitant about Social Network 2, but we'll see how that pans out. In the meantime, we'll see you guys next week.